Hello students, I am here with you to explain the concept of trigonometry in a short way. First of all, you know the meaning of trigonometry. The word trigonometry is derived from three Greek words. Those are trigonia and metry. You have to know the meaning of these three words. Tri means three, gonia means angle, metry means measurement. That means three angle measurement. Where we can find these three angles in a closed figure? It is nothing else triangle. The trigonometry related to triangles, especially right angle triangles only. If you go through the right angle triangle, you have one right angle and two acute angles. These ratios are defined for acute angles at initially, then concept will be elaborated other than acute angles, that means right angles and obtuse angles. Now, before going into the fundamentals, we have to know the relations of sides in right angle triangle according to our desired angle, that is nothing but A. Come to this figure. Here we can find right angle. These two are acute angles. Let us take this angle as theta. Now we'll go to name these sides. The side which is opposite to right angle is always hypotenuse. We have to leave it. The remaining have two sides only. This side is opposite side to our desired angle. That's why it is called opposite side. Then come to another one. This is a side adjacent to this angle. Why? Because the angle is inscribed between these two sides. Actually these two sides are adjacent, but this adjacent can be named as hypotenuse at early stage. Therefore you can take this adjacent only. If you change the desired angle from here to here, it becomes opposite and it becomes adjacent. But then what you observed, if the desired acute angle changed, the adjacent and opposite sides are changed respectively. Now come to the names of the trigonometry ratios. You can find 6 ratios. You have to find out the first 3 are called sin A, cos A, tan A. Then you have to keep the remaining 3 in opposite side. They are cosecant, secant, cot. Before that I will explain a small technique. You have to remember 6 ratios as part 1 and part 2. Part 1 sin A, cos A, tan A, and part 2 cosecant A, secant A, and cot A. Instead, all of you have to remember these 6 ratios in this line only. Now come to here. The first 3 ratios are called main trigonometric ratios, and the second part gives the reciprocals of the first part. Therefore left and right are reciprocal to each other. Thereafter, how we can define sine? If you go through this figure, sine is nothing but opposite by hypotenuse, then cos is nothing but adjacent side by hypotenuse, tan is nothing but opposite by adjacent. But here the tan does not contains hypotenuse. Well, then come to the secant. Secant is the reciprocal of sine. You have to change both numerator and denominator. You will get hypotenuse by opposite side. Then what is secant? The reciprocal of cos. It is nothing but hypotenuse by adjacent side. Come to cot. It is the reciprocal of tan. It is nothing but adjacent side by opposite side. Now we have to go to find sin A into cosecant A. It is nothing but opposite by hypotenuse into hypotenuse by opposite. Both opposites and hypotenuse should be cancelled. Sin A into cosecant A is equal to 1. Therefore, you can conclude that the product of any two ratios are equal to 1. Then those ratios are called inverse ratios to each other. Therefore, sin and cosecant are inverse to each other. Then come to, you have to find cos A into cosecant A. If you multiply, you can get adjacent by hypotenuse into hypotenuse by adjacent. Both adjacent sides, both hypotenuse should be cancelled. You will get the result will be 1. Then we conclude that cos A and secant A are inverse to each other. Then come to the third pair, that is tan and cot. If you go through the multiply, both adjacents, both opposite sides are cancelled. Then the product will becomes 1. Therefore tan and cot also inverse to each other. So for remembering of inverse concept, the part 1's inverse lies in part 2, the inverses of part 2 lies in part 1. Okay, finally you have to recapitulate. The inverse of sin A is cosecant A, inverse of cos A is secant A, inverse of tan A is cot A. I give a small technique to remember inverse concept. If the ratio starts with S, the inverse ratio will start with C. If the ratio starts with C, the inverse ratio should starts with S. If you take sine, here the first letter is S. For getting the inverse, we have to take the reciprocal from part 2 starts with C. Here it is nothing but cosecant A. Similarly, you take the ratio cos starts with C. Therefore, the reciprocal starts with S. It is none other than secant. Come to last pair, tan and cot have the sound of T. Tan, cot. You have to remember the sound of T. They are under inverse pair. After that, you have come to the identity concept. I would like to introduce the identity concept, which is the very important fundamental in trigonometry. Now we have only three identities. Each identity has two ratios. Each ratio comes in only one identity. Therefore, six ratios fall into three identities. Each identity contains is equal to 1. Every ratio should be squared. The first one is sin square A plus cos square A is equal to 1. That means the first identity comes from first two ratios. Now I would like to introduce a shortcut to remember those identities. We'll take the communities in our society, that is SC, ST, not BC, it is CC. You take S and C, they are sin and cos. Every ratio has squared, then added. Sin square A plus cos square A is equal to 1. Here the first two ratios form the first identity. Then come to ST. The ratio starts with S. S is nothing but secant only. Here the second letter is T. It is nothing else the tan. Therefore, secant square A minus tan square A is equal to 1. The last one is CC. Here we have two C's. Here the long pronounced cosecant comes at first, cos at second. Therefore, cosecant square A minus cot square A is equal to 1. These identities are very useful in simplifications. For example, if you want to express one ratio in other ratios or to find a required ratio. For example, if you want to find cos when sin is given, you have to use the formula sin to cos. It is sin square A plus cos square A is equal to 1. If you want to find tan when secant is given, you have to use secant square A minus tan square A is equal to 1. Then come to the complementary concept. At first, you have to know the definition of complementary. The pair of angles which makes 90 degrees are called complementary to each other. Now come to this right angle triangle. Here, other than the right angle, the angle pair of angles makes complementary. Here you apply cos and here you apply sine. Both ratios should be equal. So, for getting complementary concept, I would like to give a blind technique. If you want complementary of any function, if the initial function has co, you have to remove the co. If the initial function does not have co, then you have to add co. For example, I would like to take sine. In this sine, we cannot find the word co at initially. So you have to add the word co. It becomes cosine. It is the short form of cos. Then you will take cosecant. Here the ratio contains co. So you have to remove the word co. It becomes secant. For getting complementary of tan, you can observe that there is no word co. You have to add co. The word becomes cotangent. It is the short form of cot. If you remember like this, throughout your life, you cannot get any confusion among those definitions, inverses, complementaries and identities. This much is enough for 10th class level. Thank you for watching this video.